My name is Nikolaus Hirsch. Together with my brother, I run the company Hirsch The Bracelet. We are allowed to work with the best brands in the world. I did not want to work in this company, actually. I made the mistake of falling into the trap of NFTs.
Is there a Hirsch NFT?
No, some people from the team left the company because they didn't want to deal with my new ideas.
5-6 years old and it looks still like new.
Really like your bracelet.
Hi, and welcome to the Chronedo podcast, the show where we talk about watches, business, and life. In today's episode, we are joined by Nikolaus Hirsch. Hirsch is a family business from Austria with over 500 employees worldwide. Many of the biggest Swiss watch brands trust Hirsch for their leather straps. And while I can't name any names, you can trust me when I say it's the top brands from Switzerland. In this episode, Nikolaus shares his journey as a leader, his business insights, and his experience in building a strong social media presence for a traditional family business. Enjoy the show. Nikolaus, it's a pleasure to have you here on my podcast.
You're welcome. Pleasure is mine.
Thank you. How are you doing today?
Fantastic. The weather could be a little bit better, but there's always one thing that one can talk about.
Do you live here in Klagenfurt?
Well, 50-50. I live part-time here in Klagenfurt and I live in Vienna, so I travel a lot.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Vienna must be beautiful, I heard.
It is. It's a very nice city. I love it. I'm a big fan of big cities or slightly bigger cities. I grew up in Hong Kong and I spend most of my time in like larger cities. So therefore, I prefer that to Klagenfurt, which feels tiny sometimes, but it's also very nice here, especially in summer because we have the lake, which is fantastic. It's very nice, very calm. You have a lot of green scenery and the mountains and everything. So there's a lot to do as well if you like to be in nature. But if you like to be in a bigger city like me, then, well, it sometimes is a bit difficult, but that's fine.
Yeah, and yesterday I read that Vienna, it's like the second best place to live.
It was it was on number one for a very, very long time. But now, apparently, Zurich is a much better place to live. And we'll see how that turns out.
Yeah.
But Vienna will try to be number one again.
So to kick things off, could you introduce yourself and tell us a bit more about Hirsch and the story behind it?
Sure. My name is Nikolaus Hirsch. Together with my brother, I run the company Hirsch The Bracelet. The company is focused on making bracelets for watches, as we like to call them, but as many people will know them under a different word, is watch straps. We make them out of most of it is made out of leather. We have a production facility here in Klagenfurt, and we've been fortunate enough to have our ancestors and us date back to 1765, which was the first official document that we found from one of our ancestors to have been working with leather. We believe the whole aspect of working with leather in the family is been around for way longer, but this is the official document and we date back to, or we refer to this date, 1765. And we've always worked with leather. So in the past, we've made small leather goods. We had a tannery. We made saddles. And my great grandfather, he liked to invent things. So one of the things he invented after the Second World War is a leather belt for the car industry to power the light machine in the motor of the cars. And from that, he started doing other things. He crafted wooden clocks and things like that. So he loved that. And he used to live in Lower Austria, so near to Vienna with the family. And that is also where we had our tannery. And he decided to move to Klagenfurt. And from that, he started to make watch straps, basically, from on his kitchen table with his wife, which was very interesting and very, very challenging and forward-thinking for the time because nobody actually needed a watch strap. But he was very persistent and sold it to jewelers first, and that's where we come from, basically. Yeah. And today, we work with most Swiss, German, Japanese, and all of the major premium luxury watch brands, where we cater to them and make watch straps for them. So it's an OEM production. And we also have our own brand where we sell our watch straps to dealers worldwide, jewelers, watchmakers, and we have over 5,000 or multiple thousands of point of sales. And we export our products in over 80 countries. And 95%, if I'm correct, of all our products produced are exported. So just a small, tiny bit of our products stay here in Austria, actually, yeah.
So can you mention any brands,
No, I
or
cannot.
you are not allowed to do that?
What I can say is that with some brands, you will find a inscription on the back where it says "Made in Austria," and that will easily lead you to one of the major watch strap manufacturers, us.
And how is it to work with such big brands?
It's an honor. That's one thing to say about it, because it really is very exciting to work with these major luxury watch brands, and especially to work in the luxury industry. And with that also comes a lot of challenges. There's a very high demand in terms of quality standards, in terms of chemical compliance and regulations that you have to abide, which sometimes is a bit difficult because we're not that big of a company. But it's fun because from the time my great-grandfather started the company here in Klagenfurt, he always had a saying. He said that there's always room for improvement. So he actually said there's nothing that cannot be done even better. And this is the mantra that we keep in our company, and that we love challenges. Creating products for the luxury industry is fantastic because there's always a challenge. And if you think about watches these days, most of the watch brands have quick exchange mechanisms that are proprietary to the brand. And this is a very challenging part to do because it involves so much technical know-how. And it's a very detailed process to actually ensure that the coating or the leather, the materials used, that they stay together and that we can guarantee the quality of the strap when you exchange it multiple times.
Yeah, and it's durable in the end.
Exactly.
So this one I have, it's like 5-6 years old, and it looks still like new. It's incredible, the quality.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it that you also have one of our products and that you're wearing it. And I really like your Breitling.
Thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Quick 15-second ad. Hi, I'm Ken from the Chronedo podcast. I want to let you know that you can join our community, the Chronedo Circle, for exclusive giveaways, behind the scenes, and key takeaways from every episode. Sign up for free at chronedo.com/community. And so there is always room for improvement. Is it also a saying that you have in your mind all the time, or how do we implement that into your life?
In the company, we have a R&D department that are focused on creating cool products. And as you already saw our company and you got a glimpse into our production, we focus strongly on the next thing. So this could be the next technology that is coming to watch straps. This could be the next step in terms of metal components that are used for these quick exchange mechanisms. But this could also be new materials, like we are currently heavily investing in natural materials that not only we source, but that also we produce ourselves. So we have a couple of products that we currently produce ourselves, which are made from plants, from leaves, from wood, and these are used in our current collection. And we believe that there might be a market for that in the next 2 or 3 years. And if I may add, the strap that you're wearing currently, we launched this product in 2014, and we were ahead of our time because usually we offer the products or the creative ideas that we have to our watch brand partners. And at that time, nobody wanted it. So we decided we will launch this in our own brand and sell it to dealers worldwide and sell it to the end consumer. And they loved it. And today, this is one of our best-selling collections. And if you look into the watch industry now, you see a lot of these hybrid watch straps with rubber and a different material. So this is become a standard, if you want to call it, like the other materials that are currently used within the watch industry as well. So this is the part of the mantra that we implement in our company. And for me, this means I have to be better every day. It doesn't make sense for me to chase perfection because this doesn't exist. But if I can be better than I was yesterday, then I can chase excellence and I can do better in the future and therefore do better for my customers, do better for my company, and also do better for my family, because now I have a family, I have a baby at home, and this also is a challenge. Yeah. And this also calls me to become better every day.
Interesting. So you've been involved since a long time into the watch industry, I believe since you were a kid.
At first, I didn't have any interest in watches. There's one key memory that I have. I think I mentioned on a couple of different interviews that back in the day, my brother and me, we used to sit in our production, and we were packaging watch straps for one watch brand. And I remember that distinctively because this was the first time I can recall that one specific watch brand was so present for me and that I was interested into learning more about the brand. And the brand was Panerai. And it was very interesting because I didn't know a lot about watch brands. I didn't know Rolex, I didn't know Patek and all the others, but I knew this brand. And I started to dive deep into the world of Panerai. And I don't own a Panerai, unfortunately, but this was one of the key memories of watches. And I think that was when I was 12 or 13 or something like that. So in the summer holidays, we spent a lot of time here, obviously. And from that on, I became a little bit more interested in watches. And I've been interested in watches for more than 10 years now, seriously interested. And it's been very fun in learning new things every day.
But did you ever had a job outside of Hirsch?
Yes, I did. I did not want to work in this company, actually. I did not want to follow the footsteps of my father, my grandfather. I wanted to go into tourism, hospitality. I wanted to work in a hotel. And my dream always was to own a hotel. And maybe this has something to do with me growing up in Hong Kong, because you're so exposed to fantastic hotels and the hospitality that you get is really next level. But I had the opportunity to work in a hotel for a month in Switzerland, in Leukerbad. And it was a very nice experience. It was during summer, and they had thermal baths and everything. It was a very nice hotel. But I learned that this is definitely not the way for me to earn my money in the future, because it was so stressful and there's so many different kinds of things that you have to take into account. And I hated the job that I was doing. I was allowed to jump through jobs there and see everything in the hotel. And the only thing I loved was the kitchen and the service. So I spent most of my weekends there cooking or serving the food. And that's what I told him. I told him I don't want to work in the back office or reception or things like that. No. Put me in the kitchen. I'll be fine there. And that's it. And that's all I'll do for a month. Yeah. So it never ended up being what I wanted to be. And in 2016, my father invited my brother and me to join the company for a strategy meeting, workshop actually. And I got so interested into the world of Hirsch and our dealers and what we could do better in the future and where the strategy could go. And from that, I started in the company, and I started with the digital marketing, opening up social channels for our company, because you might know the watch industry is very conservative. It was much more conservative before the pandemic. And at that time, we were only focused on doing B2B. There was no interest in selling to the end consumer or
so you didn't have an online shop?
No,
nothing. Wasn't the topic for you?
My father wanted to do that, but our sales department was very hesitant because they said that if we start selling to the consumer directly, we will lose all of our trade customers. This never happened, as we know. But at that time, nobody knew, and I wouldn't say the internet was very new. It wasn't. But the hype around watches and the interest for them wasn't as big as it is right now, and you didn't have as many young consumers of watches, especially on the internet. It was mostly forums and very sophisticated mediums. So from that, we started to open up social channels to get in contact with our consumers. And then in 2020, we launched our online store.
When did you open your social media account?
In 2016, I think we had a Facebook account.
You started with that one.
Yeah. And then I opened Instagram, then YouTube, and I think we opened Pinterest because these were the major players at that time.
And what did you post there?
We started posting a user-generated content because what I found is that we already have a lot of consumers that are wearing our products with their watches and that they are sharing their pictures. So we started asking our consumers if we could share the picture on our page. And we did that. And then we went to starting to add some content ourselves, which led me dive deeper into the world of watches. So I started collecting watches, which is a whole other topic. But from that, it all evolved and it was a fun journey. And I'm happy that we pursued the way, because where would we be right now if we didn't have social channels?
Second and last ad. If you want to support this podcast and get a free gift, go to chronedo.com/support or simply follow me on Instagram or YouTube and share this episode with your friends. I truly appreciate it. How would you describe yourself as a collector? Are you more into modern watches or vintage watches?
Honestly speaking, I have no theme in collecting. I like quirky, weird watches, things that are outside of the norm. So, for example, if we talk about very popular watches like for example, Rolex, I have the GMT, the new modern GMT with the crown on the left side. I'm a left-handed person, but I wear my watches on the left hand. So I'm doing everything wrong that you could do wrong. And the watch was a perfect fit for me. I like green. The watch is a left-hand watch. I wear it on the left hand. It's like the quirkiest watch for me personally, and I love it. This is a modern watch, but usually I tend to go for smaller watches, like 36 millimeters in case diameter or something like this. The sweet spot is most of the times 36. I like that. More elegant watches, honestly, but it's a mix between vintage and modern. I'm very torn because sometimes I like something that's new, but most of the times the new things are too big. And I prefer thinner, smaller watches because they're just, for me, easier to wear.
I believe as I get to know you for a few minutes now, I can see you're a humble person. And watches that are a bit smaller also represent that.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
So it's interesting. And I heard you talking about the Cubitus. It's a big one, so you are not really into that.
I actually love it. I had the chance to try it on a couple of times, and I was very hesitant because I tried the integrated steel sports watches like the Royal Oak, the Nautilus. With Rolex, it's a bit easier because you can take off the bracelet and then put on a normal watch strap. But with a integrated bracelet, for example, something like the Nautilus or the Royal Oak or the Cubitus right now, it's very hard to put on a leather or rubber strap if it's not from the manufacturer and you get the plots for the insert on the case. But weirdly enough, I like the Cubitus. I don't know why. I thought it would be way too big with the 45 millimeter diameter, but I had the chance to try it on a couple of times and it wears much smaller and it's very thin. So
that makes a big difference.
Yeah, it makes a very big difference and it's very discreet. Sure. And I'm already thinking about, I don't know if I would get one. If I get one, I'm already thinking about what kind of strap I could put on it that would make it look good, because most of the times these custom straps for integrated watches it's like a not very well done paint job, but we'll see what happens. I would wear the watch on the integrated steel bracelet for some time, but I'd like the option to change.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens.
So let's go back to the story where you started to work for Hirsch. Can you tell us a bit more about the challenges you faced, maybe also how you work together with your brother and your father together?
Yeah, sure. When I started in 2016, I started in the marketing, only responsible for the social channels. I didn't have a team. I didn't have to lead anyone or anything. I was like an expert in my field. So I was working alone basically. And then at some point I grew interested more in the topic of marketing. And I had the opportunity during my studies and after school and summer vacations to visit a lot of our customers. So I quickly started to be responsible for a team and then took over the marketing as a whole. And the first challenge I faced was that due to my very young age, people didn't really respect me that much. So that was the first challenge in bringing new ideas into the company where you have a lot of people that have been around for a very long time. And this is a trait that we have in our company. We have people that have been working with us for 40 years, 30 years, 25 years. This is the norm here. And I myself have been here now for officially for 12 years. So this was the first challenge to face as a young person, to having to push new ideas, wanting to push new ideas, but having the backlash from an existing team that doesn't want to change. So that was very difficult. What happened was that some people from the team left the company because they didn't want to deal with my new ideas, which was very nice because they did me a favor because I wasn't ready to fire someone, let alone have the conversation of not having them work here anymore. Yeah. But my father was very helpful in that. He always tried to consult me and be there for me if there's something that I needed and to grow. And he gave me a very good advice. And he said, listen, if you want to push your ideas, at some point you will have to earn the respect. And there are multiple ways to do that. But one of them will have to be that you will have to show them that what you're doing is important to you. And if they don't fit to the company, then you have to take action. So I had to let go one of my team. And from that point, it started to get easier. So I know it's a weird advice, but for anyone that's starting out as a young person in a team with a lot of people that have been around for a long time that don't want to change, changing the team is an essential part, because only with new people you can generate new ideas and bring in new ideas. And the more new people you have, obviously you need some of the more experienced people in the team, but it gets easier, and you need this new mentality. We're a family company. We've been around for generations. We have to evolve. If we don't evolve, we die. It's finished. And our main goal is always to keep the company going for the next generation. So change has to happen. It's part of our DNA.
It's not always easy, but it has to happen. Of course.
And so I had quite some challenges also with the industry being very conservative, with bringing new ideas into the company, which was very difficult. So I learned a lot on the way. Also, our customers, very conservative. The way of dealing with them, selling to them was quite challenging. Also, we didn't have like a system for them to order. It was all with hand, with the order sheet and everything. So we implemented a lot of things. And with the ideas, my team grew and my responsibilities grew as well. So I started to be more responsible for the sales team as well at some point. And during that phase, I think this was one of the most challenging phases of all, because if you're responsible for the sales, that's a very heavy burden for the company as well. And I remember my father was always there for me. He always helped me, and I asked him questions. And we hired a manager, and she was responsible for our service business that we do in Switzerland. So as you are from Switzerland, you know that we have our own shops within Mano, Coop, and Globus, where we do watch repair and sell our products as well. And she was responsible for that, and she was very experienced. So she helped me a lot in becoming a better manager, in learning more about marketing, learning more about sales. And that was one of the most helpful things. And if there's one thing that I could share for anyone listening, wanting to be an entrepreneur or working, is if you have some experienced people in your team or in your company, ask questions, ask a lot of questions. If there's no bad question to ask, you ask questions, you will always receive answers. And this helps a lot because you gain more experience in asking these questions. You can learn from the people that have already done these things.
And you can learn from failures or...
Exactly. Don't be afraid to fail. This is the next thing. Don't be afraid to fail. We all are afraid to fail. I was very afraid to fail because I didn't want to do anything wrong or hurt someone. But failure brings experience. And I feel that at least I can only learn if I fail. I don't learn if I'm comfortable. You don't learn that way. So this was a very good experience for me growing up in the company and managing more people and having to deal with different cultures was also very interesting. And at some point in 2022, my brother and me, we became CEOs of the company. Still today, together with my father, but he's very much in the background. And we are very lucky because back in the day, my father had to buy the company from his father. So that was the way to do. In current times, this is a very hard task to do because finding a bank that will lend you so much money to buy a company is like basically impossible. So we found another way, and he wanted to do it differently. And his approach is a much more calm and more experienced approach. He lets us run the company. He doesn't interfere because his ambition was to create a company or keep the company running for the next generation. And he noticed that it's time for the next generation to bring in their ideas. And it's their responsibility to take care of the company for the next generation. And so from that, he took a step back. He's now our consultant, basically. And we talk to him every day and he listens to us and we exchange ideas. And he doesn't give his perspective or his point of view, but he shares his experience. And I think if you can find a way of doing this with your family, then that's fantastic. Because most of the times I know from other family companies, and I know from our own company, that working with family isn't easy, because you don't have a filter when talking and everyone has a different opinion. And it's very challenging to find a common ground within the family because there are many different kinds of interests. So I'm very happy that today we can have a good basis for a conversation and we have a good way of working together.
I have huge respect of that your father gave you the steering wheel and he still supports you, but he's not like very pushing you into one direction. He lets you doing your job, and
he's a great person. He's a really great person. And I really respect him for doing so, because without that, I don't think that we could run the company as we're doing it right now. If it would be in a different way, we would not be able to push new ideas into the company. Because as I mentioned before, we have a lot of people in the company that have been here since the day my great-grandfather ran the company. They have seen multiple generations within the company. And like pushing new ideas, like working with AI, for example, this is mind-blowing for most people. But you have to try new things to find out if it's useful or not. So I'm very happy that he lets us do this without interfering. Of course, if there are difficult times or if there are certain aspects of the company, then if it's necessary, he will interfere. But it's not necessary. So therefore, he doesn't need to do this and he can take a step back, which is fantastic. And we use his experience a lot.
But it must be anyway a big pressure on you and your brother to carry on this legacy. You know, if I have to do that, every step I would have to do for my company, I would think like twice if it's the right one. Is it the right direction? If not, we can lose a lot. We have a big legacy. So it's a big pressure on you and your brother.
Yeah, you never know if the decision you make is the right one or not. You only know it if you've taken the decision and tried it. So therefore, I'm a big fan of doing things rather than contemplating if it's the right thing or not the right thing. And I think in today's time, you have to be fast. And I'd rather do 90% than do 100%. because the time you need from going from 90 to 100 is a lot. And you learn so much more if you just do the things rather than thinking about them too much. But it's true. Being an entrepreneur, especially in a family company situation that has been there for multiple generations, I wouldn't say it's a burden, but it's a challenge. You have to have the right mindset to do it. And I'm the oldest of three. I have two younger brothers. One is working in the company and the other one is doing his own thing. I was always the one taking responsibility for what is going on. So either, cooking for my brothers or taking care of them when my parents weren't around. So for me, it's like a natural thing to take responsibility. And it helps me in the business side because I'm fine with taking responsibility if something goes wrong. I'm fine with taking the responsibility if ideas don't work out, if we spend money and it doesn't come back. So you have to have the right mindset, and not everyone is able to do that. And that's fine as well. But I've learned that it's not a burden, it's a gift. If I'm allowed to carry on the legacy, and this is something I would have never thought about. But today I believe it's one of the best things that has happened in my life because, first of all, we are allowed to work with the best brands in the world. Yeah. Second of all, we have probably a network of the best watchmakers, dealers, and jewelers in the world. And we are able to sell to watch lovers from everywhere. And I get to have conversations like our conversation today, which is a big pleasure. And I wouldn't want to miss it for anything in the world.
Could you see any changes in revenue or brand recognition when you started to build these social media channels?
Not at first. I think not at first, because we didn't have any access to selling directly to the consumers right at the start. What changed a lot was the pandemic. I think it made the whole industry wake up. And if you look before the pandemic, I think none of the major watch brands had an online store, or just very local ones. Like in the US, they have their own store, but they didn't sell everything online. Fast forward to, 2021. Every watch brand had an online store.
They had to have one.
They had to have one. Yeah, of course. And now they're focusing heavily on their monobrand stores, which is fine as well. I understand the decision. But what I'm trying to say is the beginning of using social media, for us at least, was a challenge because we are part of a product. It's not a standalone product that we're selling. It has to be used with a watch, which is challenging because we have to pair watches with our products. And at first we were very hesitant in doing that. Now we aren't, because we take a lot of pictures with watches and straps. And we know that consumers want to see their watch, how it looks with different kinds of materials, different kinds of colors. And I think, to answer your question, in the beginning, there wasn't a lot of revenue come in. Today, with our web shop and the more detailed statistics that we can run, we can see that it has a positive effect on the company and the brand recognition. Not only because we use ads as well, but we see that when people come to our Instagram channel, for example, they see the products that we have. They maybe come to my personal channels where they see that I pair watches with watch straps, that I show different kinds of styles. And from that, we get new relations with dealers, with watch brands. And this has helped a lot, yeah.
When did you start to show your face, or to start to connect your face, your personality to the brand?
I'll be very honest. I'm an introvert, actually. I didn't want to do this, and I never intended to show my face and be very present on social media. But I noticed very fast when starting to work in marketing that we will need someone to be the spokesperson for the company. Similar as you have now with the watch brands, the independent brands, you can talk to someone like Raphael from Formex. On Instagram, you can message them and they will reply. And with the independents, that's fantastic. With the more major brands, it's very hard to actually have a close relation with the CEO, or most of the times they belong to a bigger group, so they're not even independent. And I noticed that for us as a family company, we will have to spread this message that we are a family company and one person or multiple people from the family are representing the brand. So as no one was doing it at that time, there were very few pictures of my father. My grandfather was the one that did it before him. He was very active in terms of press and everything. I decided I'll do it. And I had to learn a lot about photography, about what I want to share and what I don't want to share. So it was a very long process. But today I'm very confident in having conversations like this or I don't show my face on social media that much, but
On YouTube.
Yeah, but I do it for the company. So for example, if we have a new product, there's no problem for me to stand in front of the camera and talk about the new product or that we're launching a new product. On my personal social channel, I've decided to dial it down a little bit and to more showcase what I want to show, to have it be a little bit more personal, but not as frequent as it was in the past, and focus on the things that I enjoy, like for example, YouTube or the podcast that I started with my friend Burak. These are the things I enjoy, talking about watches, the passion for this space. And I'm lucky that we have a product that we can sell within the space and that works, that I can talk about, and that has also a lot of emotion when it comes to personal preference and styling, and there's a lot of things that you can do with it. I actually didn't want to do it, but it has become now my job to stand in front of the camera, to talk to press, to give interviews, and to also be available for our content team that we have here, to take pictures, lifestyle pictures, and to shoot video photography and whatever we are doing right now. So I do these things with my team here, and I like it because it has a certain consistency as well, and it gives trust to the people that are buying our products. Because we're a family company, they have technically they can have a close conversation with me. They can reach me. They don't have to talk to my team. And I am very active on social media in talking to consumers on a daily basis and recommending our products or giving feedback on, I don't know. So I think someone just messaged me that he just bought a certain watch and just wanted to share it. And I said, yeah, fantastic watch. And if you need a watch strap, let me know, and stuff like that. So I do that on a regular basis. And if you message me on Instagram, it might take some time for me to answer, but I will answer. And I think I like that. It gives me the opportunity to have a conversation with our consumers and the other way around as well, which is fantastic.
And I believe some people will make the buying decision based on that. They see your face and they can connect and they will say, yeah, let's buy this strap instead of this one.
Exactly. I feel the same way. And that's why it's one of the reasons I do it as well.
And we can see that in other industries like beverages and things like that. You will see these big influencers promoting some products. It's the way it works today.
You buy from people.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's why, that's the way we are geared. We trust people and we buy from them. So if I have a close relationship with my authorized dealer, I would prefer buying from them than from someone else, for example.
And I'm pretty sure that it makes a strong connection if somebody listens to this podcast.
Yeah.
He will hear your voice. That gains trust in the end.
I hope so.
The brand in your person. So that's cool. So did you had any tactic or strategy that worked well on Instagram that you let you grow your accounts, or is there any secret,
No, I don't think. I made so many mistakes. I tried everything.
Can you mention one mistake?
Yeah, sure. When starting out on Instagram and trying to grow my channel, I always had the intention to grow a big channel and like reaching 10,000 followers. I think that was the first milestone I wanted to reach. And at that time, I had maybe 1,000. It was very difficult. So you get sucked into this space of hacks and tips and things to do and shortcuts. But in the end, I'd say none of these shortcuts actually helped, but they did give me experience, which maybe makes them valuable in the end as well. But in the end, it was consistency, just doing it every day for, I think, since 2016.
So posting every day.
Yeah, I posted every day.
Yeah.
I think I have 1,500 posts or something like that. I did that and Social media is about having a social interaction with someone. I started to have social interactions with people, and what helped me personally was I wanted to dive deeper into the space of watches. So when the pandemic hit, I had time, a bit more than I wanted, but I had time. And I started to have these Instagram live conversations with established watch journalists, influencers in the space, watch brands, dealers. I set out to have a conversation every day and record it via Instagram live. So I started doing that. And again, people know Hirsch within the industry and they were happy to do so. Some brands didn't want to do it, of course, if they're a bigger brand. But I had no... I basically messaged hundreds of people, just, hey, I'm doing this live interview. Would you be interested to have a conversation with me? And that helped because it gave me more confidence in talking to people, especially in front of the camera and being on the other side, the side that you're on right now. And it gave me the opportunity to dive deeper into the world of watches. And from that, I became like a semi-watch journalist. I'm not a journalist, but I had the opportunity to get in contact with the PR departments or marketing departments of brands and have a conversation with them and get to see more and experience more watches. And from that, I started YouTube because I felt that this video format was more what I liked to do. And what you've asked is, are there any tips to grow a social media channel? I think it's trying out a lot of different things and seeing what works well and executing on that. And some channels might not be the right channel for you to do. Some people will have more success in doing a podcast. Some people will enjoy it being in front of camera. And luckily for us, there are multiple channels to use. Some people will be more successful on TikTok, and I don't know, some will be very successful on Pinterest. So there are many different kinds of channels to utilize. I just say, try them out. Give it a chance. Give it maybe a year, try it out. And if it doesn't work, maybe it's not the right thing.
Yeah. So I should try different channels for my podcast, try different like video editing styles, or what would you recommend?
For you? Well, I haven't seen one of your podcasts yet. I'd say continue doing what you're doing right now and maybe do 10, 20 interviews. And after that, you will have a lot of feedback and you will notice pretty quickly if there's an audience that comes back and wants to engage with you and finds it interesting. I think what you're doing is very brave because it's not easy to get these people from companies in front of a camera or in front of a microphone to ask them questions. A lot of bigger CEOs and people from watch brands, they have like a protocol to what they're allowed to say and what they're not allowed to say. So I respect you in doing that. And yeah, do more of this. I think the style that you're using right here is, you're pretty professional. I like the way you do it. For me, it's very comfortable because you allow me to tell my story and you interrupt me when it's necessary to interrupt me. So I think you're doing a good job in being the interviewer. So carry on and maybe let's talk about it in a year and see where you are. And I think it doesn't always have to be a huge audience that you reach. I think if you don't have to have 100,000 followers. If you have 1,000 and they are engaged and they love what you do, then that's great as well. People buy things.
And if there are sitting 1,000 people in a room and you talk to them, it's incredible.
Exactly.
And on your phone, it's just a number like 1,000 views. It's like nothing for us.
That's
Some
very true.
people forget that, I believe.
Exactly. In the state that we're currently in with social media, people get blinded by these numbers. And 10 people are a lot. 10 people, talking to 10 people. I just recently had the opportunity to talk in front of a group of 30 students at a university here in Austria. And it actually was the university that I studied at. And my dream was always to come back someday and like talk to students about what I'm doing. And I didn't think that I'd be able to come back as soon as I did. That's a dream come true. And for some, 30 people might not mean a lot, but it's a university, a very good university, and 30 people, and you're allowed to talk to them in a master studies course. This is something. And I think the same goes for social media. Obviously, the numbers are different, let alone if you have 100 engaged users that listen to your podcast regularly, that's a lot of people.
Mm,
That's a lot of
definitely.
people.
It's beautiful to share knowledge and people can learn from others.
Exactly.
That's cool. So before I was asking you if you did one mistake on social media, was there one big mistake or were it more like some small steps you learned on the way?
So what I never did is I never bought followers or these things. But what we tried out were different hacks. Like in the beginning, there was this thing that you would do is like follow a bunch of people and then unfollow them, like send messages to tons of people. There were a lot of small things, like small hacks that like these social media experts told you to do, and you're going to gain 100,000 followers if you do this and that. Maybe some of these things might work. Honestly, I was inexperienced at that time. I was very young. And today I think about it differently. I think it's not about having things fast. It's playing the long game. And what am I doing to me personally or my business if I use hacks rather than playing it slow, running a marathon instead of running a sprint, basically, especially in the situation that I am with my family company and working in generations. I think it's better for us to run a marathon than to like run a sprint. I think it's going to be the more successful way to do. But for some, it might not. Some people are very successful in day trading, and some people are very successful in cryptocurrencies. I made the mistake of falling into the trap of NFTs. I was very hyped.
Is there a Hirsch NFT?
No, but I did create an NFT, which didn't cost a lot of money, but obviously I wanted to try this out. And again, it's the same thing as I mentioned before. You have to try these things. Maybe they'll work, maybe they won't work. But for me, I'm playing the long game. Again, with all of the customers, most of the customers that we have, they've been with us for multiple years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years even. And this is something that we want to keep going on because, again, it builds trust and it ensures that like the next generation of watch enthusiasts will want to buy a Hirsch bracelet because they know that their father and their grandfather or their mother or their grandmother or whoever, they had a Hirsch and they were very satisfied with it. And it was a great product to have because, I don't know, the watch looked better than with a different kind of strap. So this is something that I want to carry on and that we strive to do with our company. And obviously this comes down to many different other things. One of the things is ensuring great quality, but also working with different kinds of materials and looking ahead. What kind of materials are there for us to use for the future as well?
I'm a strong believer in systems, having systems in place that are working and improving them till to the point where there is nothing else to improve left, and then starting something new.
I agree. I like systems. I like having automated processes, and they're very necessary. But I also like breaking these processes and asking the questions, can we do it differently? And is this very necessary for us? And so I think it's a mix out of both. I think it's fantastic if you have a process and you follow the process, especially in production. We need that. Otherwise, we cannot ensure the quality. But again, it's also good to ask the question, is this really necessary? And what happens if we don't do it? What will happen? I don't know, will the product break? Will it be, I don't know, not as durable as it is? Or maybe our technology is as advanced that we can say we can skip this step because our materials are as resistant as they can be and nothing will happen, for example, if talking about the product. And the same goes for any other process in marketing or in social media. I just had a conversation yesterday about our content that we're producing. We had a fixed system of content that we're producing. We have a picture of the product itself. We have a detailed view. We have different other shots. We have shots with watches. And then I asked the question, what do they bring us? Like, what are we using them for? And we noticed that some of these shots we don't even use. Like we create them with a lot of resources and with a lot of creativity. We create them and they just make it for one thumbnail on YouTube or like one picture on Instagram. But they're not even suitable for running ads on them, or they're not even suitable to make a poster for our content, for our brands, for our jewelers. So you shouldn't be afraid of asking the question, is it really necessary? Can we change something? But it's very necessary, as you already said, to have a process and also to ensure that this process is being followed.
But what do you think? Why does this happen?
Because we're very comfortable. The human being loves standardized processes. We love to wake up in the morning, drink our coffee, eat the same bread, take the same bus or the same route with your car to work from 9 to 5, have my desk, not having to share my desk or sit somewhere else. And I see that there's a different shift with the newer generation. So if I look at my youngest brother, he can work from anywhere. He doesn't care if he has like a desk or whatever. He can work in the bus, on a bench, in a park. He doesn't even need a computer. He can work on his phone. But we see this breaking up a little bit more and more with younger generations that are entering the workspace. Also here in Klagenfurt, we see that too. But we just like standard processes. We like the standard protocol to follow. And we are afraid to change most of the time. And I think one of the parts of being an entrepreneur is not being afraid to change, thinking ahead, or maybe just taking the leap of doing something that is difficult or sounds impossible. But these are the things that might work out in the end. Not always, but some of these things will work out. And I think what my brother and me are doing in our company right now currently is we're encouraging change. Since we've been in the company, some of these processes have been implemented like for a month, and then a month after we say, maybe we don't need that, or maybe we can change that. And then we scrap the whole process, or we have a different idea to follow. And a lot of our people are willing to do that. And I think this is one of the most incredible things that I've experienced in my work life, is having a team that wants to change. Like, it's incredible. They come now with ideas to change that sometimes are too provocative for me to say, I don't think we can do this. But in the end, we'll try it out. We'll create a product that I think might not look cool. One example, we had one idea, like this leopard prints. Somehow they are back in trend right now. And I know nothing about these trends, or very little. So my team came and said, listen, leopard trends are in. I said, okay, but who would wear that on his wrist? So they said, listen, we have like a product, we can print a leopard print on it. Let's give it a try. And he's like, okay, give it a try. If we sell one, fantastic. So we made a couple, we put them on our web shop. We took a couple of shots, not the whole standard process. And we actually sold all of them. And I was very surprised because I didn't think someone would wear that on his wrist, but it worked.
But you promote them on Instagram or any other ads?
No, we didn't do any ads. Like, we didn't put in a huge effort. We made the products, and this is what I like. We have the opportunity to try out things here. I can take one of the bracelets that are behind you and like take a picture and say, listen, we have this watch strap, and do you want it? And it worked out. And since then, I started a channel on Instagram, like these broadcast channels that you can start, and it's called the Secret Strap Club, where I do exactly that. I take a sample of a product and ask my community, does anyone want one?
You gain direct feedback of your customers. I
gain feedback. Sometimes it works out. Sometimes it doesn't work out. Sometimes we sell something. Sometimes we know, okay, people don't like this. And it's fun because you get a great interaction. People give you feedback. And for us, it's a new way of trying out new designs. And it took us, I think, 2 or 3 years to come to this point where we say, listen, we don't have to do the super polished collection and say, this is the innovative collection. Have a look. Do you want to buy it? And we will make like a couple of pieces and put them on stock. We skipped that. We did this for a couple of years, and then we noticed it doesn't make any sense. Let's do it the different way. We'll make one sample because we can anyway make more if we want to and if we need to. And we'll see what the people say. We'll show it to them. And some will say yes, some will say no. And it's great for us because it also shows the consumer what we're able to do.
I believe the next step that could come to Europe and maybe the US, it's live shopping that you see in China. Somebody is in front of the camera and this person will show a watch with a strap and will tell things about the strap and will try to sell to the viewers. And I believe this will come to Europe.
I have not tried it yet, but my team in Hong Kong, they've been pushing me to do something for their region. They say they've done multiple things like that because they have one dealer that is constantly doing this live shopping. And they say, we have to do this sometime. Let's see, maybe I will go to Asia beginning of next year and maybe we'll record a couple of sessions there.
For you, it's good. You have an opportunity to start and learn in an area that is already used to do that. And then maybe when Europe is ready for that, you can directly implement that here. So that's a good advantage you have there.
Yeah, I will try it out. I will let you know how it turned out.
That would be cool. Thanks. Before we come to the last question, could you tell me something about how was it to start a family while you have your business on one side, then you live some time here in Klagenfurt and then in Vienna? How does that fit all together in one life, in one day?
It doesn't, to be very honest. Sometimes it doesn't, but you make it work. I have a fantastic wife and she does most of the work at home and she takes care of our baby and she does a fantastic job, and sometimes it doesn't, but it's usually most of these things, no matter if it's like starting a family or entering into a new business venture or trying something new, most of these things happen at times where you don't expect them to happen and you have to manage somehow, and in the end it all works out. Sometimes you will be stressed, you will have very little sleep at some point, but I'm happy how it turned out in my life. I'm very happy and satisfied how it is, and I'm very excited to see where it will lead me and what will happen in the future.
Great. Happy to hear that. So finally, if you could give one advice to our listeners, what would it be?
Don't be afraid to change. I think we talked about change a lot in this podcast, and there may be some other things I could say, but this is the first thing that came to my mind right now. Just don't be afraid to change. Do the first step and see where it leads you.
So thank you very much. It was a pleasure to listen to your advice and story.
My pleasure. Thank you very much for coming, and I hope you enjoyed it. And if you want to do this again in a couple of years, let me know.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Thank you for listening. Don't forget to join our community, the Chronedo Circle. Sign up for free at chronedo.com/community. In the Chronedo Circle, you'll get exclusive giveaways, limited promotions from my podcast guests, and access to community chats where you can connect with other entrepreneurs and watch enthusiasts. Does that sound interesting for you? Then head over to chronedo.com/community and sign up for free. Stay tuned. More episodes with exciting guests are on the way. See you in the next episode, and don't forget to follow me on Instagram and YouTube. I appreciate that. Thanks.